Hello everyone. In the previous videos of this series, we've talked about what Draw Steel is, the power roll, tests, combat abilities, and potencies. Now, it's finally time to create our first character. We're going to go through the 10 steps outlined in chapter 2 of the Heroes book, and to illustrate the whole process, we're going to make a guy with a sword together. Let's see just how cool this character concept can get in Draw Steel. Yes, the first step is literally called Think. The book prompts us with a few questions, and if you're already familiar with the system, you can already start getting some ideas. For the purposes of this video, let's keep it pretty broad. Guy with a sword, and this artwork by MCDM's own Grace Chung. These are going to be our North Star. Step 2 is choosing our ancestry. Draw Steel gives us some pretty incredible options, from classics like Dwarf and High Elf to the more innovative like Memenek and Time Raider. Our guy is just a human, but he's already pretty interesting. Every ancestry in Draw Steel gets one or more signature traits, and ours is called Detect the Supernatural. With it, we can pinpoint nearby supernatural objects and creatures even if we can't see them. Ancestries also get some purchasable traits, so not every human is going to be the same as ours. To save time, let's just go with the default options, Perseverance and Staying Power. The former gives us an edge on tests made with endurance and causes the slow condition to reduce our speed to 3 squares per turn instead of the usual 2. Staying Power just gives us 2 additional recoveries. What is a recovery, you ask? Great question. Our hero's capacity to keep fighting is measured by their stamina, and to recover stamina, you have a special resource called Recoveries. When spent, a recovery allows you to heal stamina equal to 1/3 of your max. Your number of recoveries is determined by your class, so our guy with a sword can heal more times than the average member of that class. On step 3, we get to choose our culture, which actually bundles 4 choices: language, environment, organization, and upbringing. These choices are going to summarize the community that raised you. Language is easy. To start, you know Kalian, Draw Steel's common, and 1 additional language. The default for humans is Vaslorian. For the other 3 choices, we can stick to one of the suggested builds. Since our guy looks like a knight, maybe we'll choose the Knightly Order archetypal culture. For environment, we get Secluded, which gives us the Read Person skill by default. For organization, we get Bureaucratic with the Persuade skill. And for upbringing, we get Martial with the Intimidate skill. Next up is our hero's career. This describes what they did before becoming a monster-slaying adventurer, and it provides us with more skills, a perk, and possibly languages, renown, or wealth. We have loads of options here, from agent to watch officer. Since our dude comes from a knightly order, what about we give him the soldier career? This one asks us a few relevant questions like what rank did they achieve, and gives us the following benefits: 2 skills, alertness and endurance by default, 2 languages, an additional renown, and a perk, teamwork by default. Before you raise your hand, renown starts at 0 for most heroes, and it helps in negotiations. Perks are options that might help outside of combat. The teamwork perk, for instance, gives us a benefit on montages. Both negotiations and montages will be the subject of another video. The last thing we get from our career is an inciting incident. This is what happened to make your hero leave their career behind to become an adventurer. For our friend, I'm picking Soul Survivor. You were the last surviving member of your unit after an arduous battle or monstrous assault, surviving only through luck. You turned away from the life of a soldier then, seeking to become a hero who could stand against such threats. Now it's time for the main course, our class. Draw Steel comes with 9 classes, which resemble the classes from other heroic fantasy games, but with their own unique spins. Matt Colville just did an hour-long class guide in his channel, so I'll just summarize our options. Censor is your typical holy warrior, specialized in one-on-one combat. Conduit is a priest that can both heal and destroy. Elementalist is a caster that can control the Timescape's 7 elements. Fury is a rage machine tied to the primordial chaos. Null is an unarmed psionic fighter capable of suppressing magic. Shadow is an assassin that strikes with deadly speed. Tactician is a weapon master that excels in strategy. Talent is a scion that can manifest spells with their minds, and Troubadour is a storyteller that can inspire allies and demoralize opponents. I think it's pretty clear that our guy with a sword should be a tactician. So let's see what we get at level 1. For characteristics, we start with a might of 2 and a reason of 2. For the other 3, we can pick one of the default arrays. I'm going to set our agility to 1, our intuition to 1, and our presence to -1, just because he looks kind of bored. Our potencies are based on reason. Our starting stamina is 21, and we get 10 recoveries, plus 2 from our ancestry, remember? We also get 3 more skills, which are lead, monsters, and strategy by default. Every class is going to look pretty similar up until this point when we start making some more interesting choices. The first of those is our subclass. Drawsteel heroes already start level 1 with a subclass, and it determines some pretty important things about their fighting style. The standard subclass for tacticians is the Vanguard, a warrior that leads from the front. But before we see what we get from our subclass, let's take a detour into our heroic resource. One of the core elements of Drawsteel are heroic resources. Each class has their own resource that they can gain during combat and spend to fuel their most powerful abilities. It all goes away at the end of combat, so use it or lose it. The Tactician's heroic resource is called Focus. We gain 2 focus at the start of our turn, 1 focus per round when we or any ally damages a marked creature, more on that in a second, and 1 focus per round when any ally within 10 squares uses an ability that costs heroic resources. As a general rule, every hero also starts combat with an amount of heroic resources equal to their victories, which is just the number of challenges they have overcome since their last respite. If you connect the dots, this means that you start closer to your most powerful abilities the more you fight. You still have to rest because your recoveries are not infinite, but this isn't a game of attrition like D&D. Heroes keep pushing. Back to our guy with a sword, it's time for our first doctrine feature, Commanding Presence, which gives us a bonus to negotiations. Next is our doctrine triggered action, Parry, which lets us have some damage aimed at us or a nearby ally. We can even spend some focus to get an additional effect. After Parry, the feature we get is called Field Arsenal. It basically lets us take 2 kits, but since kits are the next step in the character building process, we'll talk more about it then. So, skipping Field Arsenal, we have Mark, possibly the most important tactician ability. In short, Mark draws our allies' attention to a specific foe, granting an edge on power rolls made against them. By the way, this foe is the marked creature mentioned on our focus entry. See how it all clicks together nicely? Anyway, after Mark, we get Strike Now, a cool action that lets an ally of ours attack instead of us. Very useful to strategically take down a monster that is too far away. Finally, the last 2 things that every class grants your hero are their heroic abilities, which are very powerful abilities that cost heroic resources. Usually you pick each one from a set of 4, so it's not too overwhelming. The default 3 focus ability for us is Inspiring Strike, which deals damage to a monster and inspires an ally to spend a recovery. Our default 5 focus ability, called Hammer and Anvil, allows us and an ally to strike simultaneously. And that's it for our class. Each class is different, but the choice process is pretty similar. You start with the basics, a subclass, and your heroic resource. Then there are a few abilities for you to pick. The only exception is your kit. In step number 6, we'll choose our kit. That is, a bundle of equipment that defines the way we fight. This is the only step that doesn't apply to every hero because casters pick protective words and prayers from inside their classes. Kits grant a few static bonuses and one thematic ability. You also get some general information about the type of equipment you carry, like light weapon and heavy armor. The appearance of this are totally up to you. Our guy with the sword for sure is wearing the shining armor kit. Heavy armor, a shield, and a medium weapon. Our kit ability is protective attack, which taunts the target for a short while. Because we're tacticians, we also get a second kit. The flavor here is that we're so good with weapons that we can benefit from two fighting styles at the same time. My guess is that our guy with the sword would have a ranged weapon as a backup. There are many options to choose from, like rapid fire, arcane archer, or sniper. I'm going with sniper because it's cool. Again, we get a bunch of bonuses and a kit ability. Patient shot. At this point, we would take all of our abilities that have the weapon keyword and apply their appropriate bonuses, like damage and distance. Kits also give bonuses to our character, like stamina, speed, etc. Once everything is applied, we can move on. Adding free strikes is a weird step, mostly because these are extra attacks that you get after you pick your class. There is a ranged free strike and a melee free strike, and these are the same for every single character except that kit bonuses apply here too. These free strikes are super simple as they represent a quick attack that you can do when the opportunity opens up. Actually, this is what you'll be using for opportunity attacks. Now for the icing on the cake, Complication. This is an optional step that gives you some interesting quest hooks that can come up during the campaign. Additionally, you gain mechanical benefits and drawbacks that can completely change the look and feel of your character. There are literally 100 options to choose from, but my favorite one is perfect given the art. Sibling's Shield. You were tasked with delivering a ceremonial shield to your older sibling, a celebrated warrior, for their years of service. When you arrived at their homestead, you found them dead on their doorstep with their own sword lodged in their back. To find out who did this to them and why, you decide to step into their shoes. It will take a while to match up to your sibling's legacy, though. My mind is already fizzing with connections between our character's career and Complication. Maybe we were in the same knightly order. Maybe I was my sibling's squire. Loads of options here. The benefit of this Complication is simple. I can't be flanked while wearing my sibling's shield. The drawback, on the other hand, is a little cooler. Because of my haunting visions of my dead sibling, I can't sleep well at night and run the risk of not gaining all of my recoveries back after a respite. Good thing we got a couple of extra ones from being a human. Now, we're basically done. Steps 9 and 10 are all about making your character more three-dimensional. Backstory, personality, connections between characters, all that stuff. I won't go through this process here because the video is already pretty long. Let's just take a moment to admire how far we've come. We set out to create a guy with a sword, the most boring archetype in all of fantasy, and check out our character sheet. We're loaded with cool abilities, we have a flavorful backstory, and we even got a cool plot point that the director can use to spice up our campaign. And all of this came from just following the book. No extra work necessary. Okay, now we know how abilities work and our character really wants to start using them. So next time, we'll talk about combat in Draw Steel. See you then.